that, okay, that how they're connected at your level and what are, I'm not going to mention all the parts here. But what I did is I kind of included the parts which you were not aware of it before, or which are more kind of helping or making the limbic system more functional. So the limbic system is basically we divided it into I did it into like the cerebral and into the diencephalon. Okay, so the cerebral contains, there are different cortical areas that are all involved. There are association areas as well. But the one which I'm going to talk about is the hippocampal formation, the cingulate gyrus, orbitofrontal cortex, temporal pole, and the amygdala. Okay? And the diencephalon, you already know it, the thalamus, hypothalamus, the basal ganglia, but only some parts of it. Actually, the list goes on. If I talked about the diencephalon and the way down, you can even include some parts of the brainstem as well. Okay? Because definitely they're in regulation with your autonomic nervous system as well. And we'll see that how it works. Now, limbic system, why is it called a limbic system? Because if it's the border, the way it is arranged. Because the functions or the structures which are related to each other, it's called a limbic, because limbic means border or the margin. Now, guys, please. This is like, if you look at the picture here, this is the sagittal section you're looking at, right? So the limbic system, the parts of the limbic system is mainly kind of present or visible, or you can point them out into the medial aspect. Okay? So this is the corpus callosum. Everybody can easily appreciate that, right? The one above it, the gray area that you can see is the cingulate gyrus. Okay? Then all the way down is the para-hippocampal gyrus. And then if you extend further towards the temporal pole, that is the umbilicus. Now, if you kind of wrap these things all around or join them together, they're making a little border or a ring around the diencephalon, which is present in the center. Is that clear? So that's why we call it as the limbic system, or you can call these structures as, or name them as the limbic lobe, or the part of the limbic lobe. There are one or two where there are little more structures that are part of the limbic lobe, which I'm going to show you, but I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible. So this is the limbic lobe you're looking at, including the cingulate gyrus, then you have the para-hippocampal gyrus, and the umbilicus. Does it move or no? No? From there? Yes? Which one is this one? Better. Then you have the, like for example, now these are the structures you're very, very familiar with. Yes? Okay. I don't like standing in one place, and you guys know that. Okay. Guys, so basically what you're looking at, these are the structures that you already know. We're very, very much familiar with it. It's just trying to show you the arrangement again. Now, there's one thing that you can see that's a little bit new to you. That's the hippocampus. And then right in front of it is the amygdala. Now, don't worry about the position. I'm just going to tell you that how they're placed. The rest of it, you can see the thalamus, the hypothalamus. Okay? And then you can see that's resting on the cerebellum. So very basic picture. Now, a little complication you can see here now. Okay, so this is what I already mentioned, the cingulate gyrus, the orange thing, right? And then all the way go down, you have the para-hippocampal gyrus. Is that clear till now? And then if you extend a little further, you have umbilicus here. Now, if you trace this cingulate gyrus a little interiorly, we're going to call it as the subcallosal gyrus or paraterminal gyrus, somewhere here. Okay? Is that clear? So this one is the paraterminal, and this one is the subcallosal. Just beneath it, that is the paraterminal gyrus. So everything that's actually joins up together, that's we're going to call it as the limbic lobe or the limbic association cortex. Then apart from, yes?
Where's the hippocampus in this?
I'm coming to that. Now, this is, when you go back, remember the para-hippocampal gyrus? So the para-hippocampal gyrus is actually parallel to the hippocampus. Hippocampus is a part of the hippocampal formation, which I mentioned it in the first slide. okay, which is actually contributing to the limbic system. So this is the, can you see the boundary or the line for a not shaded area? This one.
Yes.
Okay, so this is something they're trying to show you that underneath that orange color, there is a collection of the gray matter or the like a kind of a structure which is called as the hippocampus. Hippocampal formation actually contains three structures altogether. I'm not mentioning it here because it will create a little bit of confusion to you guys. So for you, just remember it. Hippocampus itself is a part of the hippocampal formation. Okay? So this is the hippocampus, which is actually a little deeper to the parahippocampal gyrus. Similarly, you have the uncus, right? Somewhere here, just towards the temporal pole. When you remove the uncus, you will find amygdala underneath it. Okay? Is that clear? So we have the limbic association cortex, or the whole thing, the limbic lobe. Then you have the hippocampus, which is actually running a line deeper to the parahippocampal gyrus. Then you have the amygdala, which is like a almond shape. Actually, amygdala means almond. So it's lying underneath the uncus, which is a collection of the nuclei responsible for different functions involved in the limbic system. Are you guys clear till now?
Yeah.
We're just talking about very basic, I must say, boring anatomy. Okay? You have to remember, bear with me. Then you can see this area here. Can you see this area now? Okay. Just this is something that I'll show you when we'll see the inferior aspect of the brain.
Doctor,
Yeah.
can you use mouse please?
I have 2 hands only. Okay. Now, the other structures that you can see here is the green, highlighted with green and some with red, and then you have the reticular formation. So this is just to show you that they're also contributing and making the limbic system works. Okay? Now, this was, I was talking, yes?
How they are joined all those together?
It's just like they're all the gyri. They're just the gyri, right? I'm not talking about the hippocampus or the amygdala. But if you look at it, it's just trace this gyrus. They're just naming it differently. When they're in front of the callosum, they call it a subcallosum. When you go a little bit up above the corpus callosum, that's called cingulate gyrus. Then you go all the way down, running here, parallel to the hippocampus. This is called parahippocampus gyrus.
All those considered as gray matter or white matter?
What are gyri? What is gyrus?
Cortex.
Basically contains both because it's just the indentation and then coming back to increase the surface area. So it contains both the gray matter and part of the white matter as well. Okay? So I'm not talking about the functional component right now. I'm just showing you the structures, the one which you can see that they are kind of related with the limbic system functions. Now, remember when we go back to this one, you can see this one here, right? So this is more visible or more properly, or you can see it, or when you see the inferior aspect, the blue one here. Now let's see the parahippocampal gyrus again. Can you see that? Yes. So this is the parahippocampal gyrus. You trace it a little bit more anteriorly toward the temporal pole, you will be actually kind of reaching in the uncus. Now, if you remove this uncus, you will have amygdala underneath it. And if you remove the parahippocampal gyrus, if you go a little deeper to it, you will have the hippocampus. Is that clear now? Yes. Then, can you see this area here? The blue one, I'm talking about the blue one. So this is actually the orbital frontal gyrus. Again, this is also the orbital cortex, which is part of the orbital cortex, which is actually kind of in relation to your the optic chiasma and all that, or the orbits. That's why we call it as the orbital cortex. There are different names to it. Some call it orbitofrontal, some just call it orbital, some call it like a, they even divide it into different areas, so don't go into that. Now, I just want to show you one thing here. Can you see these structures here? What are those? Exactly. So can you see the close relation to all this blue area for this olfactory bulb and olfactory tract? And actually the fibers which are running in the olfactory tract, I'm not going to mention how they're going to reach there, but they're actually going to give some fibers to the amygdala as well. Look at the close relationship here. If you have uncus here, and you have the olfactory tract, so olfactory tract actually goes and gives the fibers to the primary olfactory center, right? And then to the secondary. In
then some of the fibers, they will also reach to the amygdala as well. That explains when you have a involvement of this particular lobe, it gives you a little aura-like feeling, like in epileptic seizures. So that's why that can explain that they are in connection or they're on the loop. Now, hippocampus, we're still, let me show you this picture first. Okay. Now, can you understand the section here? Or no? Forget about this one. So basically, this is something that they have cut it in the midline or the sagittal one, and they also cut it into the horizontally as well. So this is actually, you're looking at the hippocampus itself, the hip part of the hippocampus, okay? So this is the hippocampus. Can you guys picture this or no? No? Okay, how about this one?
Okay.
Which one is easier? Then I'll start explaining. This one? Right, okay. Now, okay, I would like you to go back to your school days. Remember when you talked about, when you studied the structure of the earth, the inside of the earth, remember? Or mental? How they were showing you the sections. They were showing two sections. They were showing you the sagittal one, and they also show you the horizontal one. The same thing has been done here. So basically you're looking at the middle. I'll explain it to you.
So it's actually cut in this way, and then they actually cut it in this way as well. You can see the part of the midbrain as well. You can see the part of the thalamus as well with the interthalamic connections. Okay? This is the corpus callosum. Okay? Ignore this. Just ignore this for a while and explain it to you later. So this is the corpus callosum. And this is actually the part which has been removed at the parahippocampus gyrus, which actually kind of cut it up so that you can see the hippocampus beneath it or deeper to it. So this is the hippocampus formation, which is actually contributing, the major contribution for your memory. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go back to this one.
Yes? They again removed the whole section like this, and then they removed it. They actually just left the part of the thalamus and the... I'll tell you. They cut it to show you. Okay. Now, imagine that hippocampus which I just showed it to you, and then try to see the coronal section of the hippocampus, like in front, or the frontal section. Like you have the, for example, if this is the brain here, like this will be somewhere here. Like I'm talking about my brain in respect to it, so it will be somewhere here. And then you're taking the coronal section, and then you're looking at something like that. So now, if you still don't understand, there's one more thing. Everybody knows lateral ventricle, I believe.
Yes.
Now picture inferior horn of the lateral ventricle in your mind. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically the hippocampus is making the floor of the inferior horn of the left lateral ventricle. Now it makes sense? Okay, so basically the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle is placed where? Into the temporal lobe. Okay, so just underneath it, the lateral ventricle, you have the hippocampus. And hippocampus is called hippocampus because of its arrangement, because now you're looking at the frontal section. So this is the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle with the choroid plexus, you can see on the top. And this area here, which is some gray and white matter, this is the hippocampus. Okay? And because it resembles to the seahorse shape-like thing, so that's why we call it as hippocampus. The seahorse has a name. This, I think they call it as in biology or zoology, it's hippocampus. Everybody's clear about them? Okay. Now we know the structures, we have to connect them. So we need white matter to do that. There again, a very long list. There are many, like a lot of fibers that are running, but the one which I'm going to talk about is the fornix, the cingulum, and the memenothalamic tribe. Forget about this terminology for now. Okay, now go back to this slide again. So remember, this is the hippocampus itself. Now the hippocampus has to send its connection, or has to connect to the other parts of the limbic system. Okay, whatever they are. So this is actually the extension of, or you can see the white fibers actually arises if you go and, sorry. Can you see this one? This is the hippocampus, right? And can you see the white matter? So the white matter or the white fibers, they're rising. And they're going to take a form of this tract. This is called the fornix. Can you see that? All right. The same thing which is shown on the other diagram in the green. This is the fornix as well. This is how it's running. So this is the fornix, which is actually coming from the hippocampus, and it is going to transmit the fibers and reaches to the medullary body, which are part of the hypothalamus. Okay. So one from here and the other one from there. Can you see that? So in the middle, it's kind of fuses. Can you see this one? So this is just the fornix, which is showing it to you. So if you start from here, this is the hippocampus. Hippocampus then gives up the white matter or the white tract. This is called the fornix. This is the body of the fornix, and then ultimately it splits into two to connect to the medullary body. Okay? Yes?
Is the fornix the same as the parahippocampal cortex?
No. It's just that the tract, the fibers.
It's
the
under
white
the
matter.
parahippocampal. It's under the parahippocampal cortex?
No,
Because you
it's
said
not
that-
under, it's above. Can you see it? Okay, I'll show you now.
You said the hippocampus is under the parahippocampus.
Basically what happens is you have parahippocampus guys, right? And then when you go deeper, you have hippocampus formation. Then the hippocampus is collection of the gray and white, definitely, but they have to connect. So the connection, the same way that you're connecting the other parts of the brain previously, you have white matter running. Okay? So fornix is just the name given to those fibers which are connecting the hippocampal formation to the medullary body. And the way it is running, if you can see, it's actually kind of seems as if it's continuing or emerging. Sorry? Read it. You guys ask?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh. So yes, go ahead. So this is what exactly it's doing. It's connecting. So if you look at the hippocampus formation here, it's going to come and then converge. The first, actually, it's not directly. There are different structures involved. I'm skipping that part. It's just that it's connecting. These are the white fibers. Okay, so it's going to connect, goes underneath, runs underneath the corpus callosum, and then reaches anteriorly to the medullary body. Okay, is that clear now? It's the same thing as the hippocampus. Actually, as I said, hippocampal formation contains three parts. One of them is called pes hippocampus. I'm kind of making it very, very simple for you.
So because the corpus callosum will run above the
Hippocampus, okay? Fornix, medullary body. This is your corpus callosum. It makes sense now? Sorry? This is anterior, this is posterior. These are the medullary body, and they're going to go and enter there, the fibers. Okay? Any other questions, guys? Okay. So there was one more that is called a cingulum. So cingulum actually explains it. That these are the fibers that are running within the cingulate gyrus. Okay, and I'll show you that what are they connecting in a while. Okay. So the function, if you wrap it up and I can summarize that what are the different parts of the limbic system and what exactly they're doing. So the limbic lobe, now you can picture it, right? Cingulate and all that. So they're kind of receiving the information from the sensory areas and then kind of sending it to the other parts of the limbic system, or kind of like helping it out to modify the information with response to the environment and to the stimulus. Hippocampal formation is something to dealing with the memory, consolidating, and I think you had a lecture, so you know better than me what exactly it's doing.
Short term to long term.
Exactly, it's consolidating the short-term memory to long-term memory so that you can respond accordingly if you experience the same thing again. Then you have the amygdala. What is the function of the amygdala? Actually, the amygdala, yes, it also works with the memory as well, because definitely the previous memory is in relation to it. But it actually works with the hypothalamus as well. When you see something, whether it's good or bad, if you're happy, if you're sad, and something, emotions comes in. And when emotion comes in, you also have an autonomic nervous system involved. An autonomic nervous system is actually the control, which is actually going to send messages from the hypothalamus as well, and then you have the brainstem. So they're all interconnected. This is why whenever you have emotions, you actually sometimes you're watching a movie, you kind of get emotional, and you start crying. I don't know.